Welcome to the latest edition of Greater Influence. This is the D4 Concepts newsletter that comes out once a month or so. And we want to pack this with leadership insights and helps for you so that you can become a person of greater influence. This month's edition, Unlocking Leadership Lessons from a 13,000-foot peak. We want to help you dream and plan for what your next level is. So, over the last couple of years, Mike and I have taken dozens of leaders through a program we call 100X Leadership. And in the workshop series, we use a metaphor to talk about preparing ourselves as leaders and the need to acclimate to higher altitudes. So, to bring that metaphor to life, Mike and I had this dream a couple of years ago that we were going to make a base camp trek. That is to trek all the way up to base camp at about 17,000 feet in Nepal. And this will be at the foot of Mount Everest. While we had no plans to go to the very top of Mount Everest, which is 29,000 feet or so, it's very expensive and slightly dangerous. This past year, it looked like that base camp trek wasn't going to happen for a variety of reasons. So we said, well, let's make some new plans. Let's decide to do some hiking, high altitude hiking here in the US. After doing some research, we found that some of the tallest peaks in the continental US are in Colorado. There's plenty to choose from, plenty of great hikes to do there. So we decided we'd find something in that 13 to 14,000 foot range, still kind of near that high altitude category, but much more accessible. That was our new dream, our new goal. So think about this. What's your dream? Perhaps you had a dream at one time. Maybe it didn't work out. Or perhaps you fulfilled that dream and you're kind of stuck on thinking about what to do next. Maybe you just stopped dreaming. Why not come up with a new dream? Just because your original dream didn't work out doesn't mean that you should stop dreaming. Maybe it's time to find a new dream. You need to keep reaching for some new goal or new possibility. The next thing we did, we had to be very intentional about our preparation. To prepare ourselves physically, Mike and I began hiking right here in North Carolina on a regular basis. We would hike anywhere from 4 to 7 miles at a time. We have a local trail that we do. We would go to the North Carolina mountains nearby and do some hiking there. Anytime that we traveled, we always did some hiking, whether that was here in North Carolina or if it was in Tulsa or Spain, outside the town of Girona, or the Sierra Nevadas there in Spain. Yellowstone, we did some hiking in the Yellowstone as well as the Tetons anytime we go out to Jackson, Wyoming. Next thing we did was we did our research. Uh, it was very quickly that we learned that going above 13,000 feet requires some real preparation. The next thing we did was we made a plan. On our trip, we would stay the first night in Denver at about 5,000 feet. From there, we would drive down to Buena Vista. That's at about 7,900 feet and stay there a couple of days, maybe do some light walking or hiking. All this was meant to start acclimating our bodies, our lungs, our hearts, our brains, our just everything, just learning how to acclimate to those higher altitudes. Then we started making more detailed preparations, thinking about the right layers of clothing, kind of mapping out the route we were going to hike for that day. Plenty of water supplemented with electrolytes, sunscreens, hats, backpacks, proper hiking boots. Like all this was part of our preparation to get ready for these high altitude hikes. And then each day we planned to go on hikes that were gradually increasing in altitude. So the first hike that we did, the Midland Trails near Buena Vista, was about 9,200 feet, I think, that we got on that first hike. The second hike we planned was at Harvard Lakes, and that got us up to about 10,240 feet. And then the third hike, and this one really got us up out of our comfort zone, was going to over 12,000 feet at Ptarmigan Lakes. And man, what a beautiful, beautiful hike that was. Probably one of my favorite hikes that we did the entire time that we were there. But it was much higher in altitude. You could start to feel it once it got above 12,000 feet. We were also very intentional about preparing how to climb each mountain, each trail. All of those were preparing us for the final hike. That hike would be to the summit of Mount Sniktau. So think about this. How intentional are you right now about your leadership climb? Are you doing the research? Are you learning new information? Are you acquiring the right knowledge? Are you thinking about your equipment? Are you thinking about your training? No one goes straight to the top on the first run. It's going to take time. It's going to take preparation. It's going to take you intentionally choosing what's your next level. And the most important step that you'll take is the very first one. After all that planning, the most important thing that we did was take the first step. We had to get in the truck. We had to drive to the trailhead. We had to get out of the truck and start walking. And that's exactly what we did our last day in Colorado. We selected Mt Sniktau because it was a trail all the way to the summit and because it was kind of on our way back to the airport. So it made sense for a couple of reasons. And it would be above 13,000 feet. It would be our highest altitude hike yet. We parked at the top of the Continental Divide there at Loveland Pass. We put on our backpacks and we started the climb. There were parts of the trail that were steep. There were parts that were covered with loose rocks, and you had to kind of pick your footing as you went. And I remember that last 500 feet in elevation gain, we had to scramble over some rocks. There were some big boulders there. And kind of as you're going through that, like I could feel my heart beating faster. Breathing was much harder to do, much more labored. There's about 30% less oxygen in the air at that altitude. But man, what a view at the summit. It's like we could see peaks and mountains for miles and miles in any direction that we turned. It was like nothing I've ever seen or experienced in my life. Uh, but without taking that first step, none of the amazing hikes that we went on would have happened. I would never have seen the views and the vistas and the landscapes that I did. There were not be the stories to tell like that I have now about each one of these hikes and what we experienced at every one of them. I would never have experienced the mountaintop without taking the first step. How about you? Have you gotten stuck in your journey? Are you immobilized by fear, procrastination, inaction? Maybe you should plan to do just one thing this week. Plan to take one step this week in order to get moving again toward your dream. If you need help figuring out what that is, just email me. Okay, there'll be a link down below. Email me, just let me know. I'd love to help you get climbing again. Maybe it's a quick phone call or maybe it's a quick meeting um, over Zoom or in person. Uh, we would love to figure out how to get you going back in that right direction again, taking that first step. So let's think about this. One of the features we have in our newsletter each time is to figure out how you lead yourself, how you lead your team, and then how you lead an entire organization if you're in that position. But all of us can lead ourselves first. So, for leading yourself, think about it. We just entered the fourth quarter of 2023. That means 2024 is right around the corner, just about 11 or 12 weeks away at the point of this recording. Do you have a personal plan to finish this year strong? Okay. If not, think about this. Write down one achievement that would make 2023 end on a great note. Okay. Think about that. What's one thing that would make 2023 end on a great note? Now, think of 2 or 3 steps that you could take to start making that achievement possible. What would it take? What's 3 steps? And then write down the very first step that you need to take this week or maybe even today to start moving in that direction. It's time to make preparations, and then it's time to take the first step. Okay, let's think about leading your team. If you're a supervisor, manager, leader of a team, each person in your team needs to know what their next level of development or achievement should be. Okay. Maybe they've got a faint idea of what that is. Maybe they've lost sight of it. Maybe you've just never had this conversation with them before. Okay. So make an appointment, sit down with each one of your team members. And in preparation for the meeting, ask them to think about what mountain they're climbing. Okay. What do they think their next level is on this climb? Or have them do the leading yourself challenge that I just mentioned above. Have them do it for themselves. Now, when you sit down with each one of your team members, have them share what they want to achieve. Okay, listen to them. Let them share what their dreams are. Let them share what their ambitions are. If they don't have them, help them. Help them understand new things are possible, that they can achieve more, that they can have a dream. And then help them make a plan for how they can do it. Okay, whatever their role is in your organization, help them understand what the next step is to grow in competency or to grow in their skill level or to grow in their contribution to your organization. Okay. Before you get out of that meeting, make sure they know what their first step is. Okay. Be a great leader. Step up and help them figure out what their next level is. Leading your organization. Okay. So if you're in charge of an organization and you have the authority, you have the responsibility to lead an entire organization, get your senior leaders together at your next senior leader meeting and have each one of the leaders share what mountain they want to climb in 2024. Okay. So as leaders, we're always looking ahead. So go ahead and have your leaders look ahead into 2024. Ask them to think about what big or impossible goals or dreams they want to stretch for in 2024. Use that list to get ready for the climb. Each senior leader, yourself included, think about first what preparation do we need to make? Is there new equipment? Are there new resources? Are there new people that we need to add to our organization? Okay. The second one, training. How do we prepare ourselves and our team with new skills? Think about technical skills, think about soft skills. If I think about the training that Mike and I did, we probably should have done some more. It probably would have helped. But just doing those hikes, doing lots of walks, climbing hills, going hiking in the mountains, even here in North Carolina, helped a whole lot when it came to hiking some of the trails that we did. What training do you and your team need? Number three, mapping. Okay, do you know how you're going to get there? Do you know what the steps are? Do you know where you're going to go first, and what's going to happen? After you hit that first goal and that second goal and that third goal, what's the route that you're going to take to get there? Number four, think about climbing. Okay, what is your starting point? Like for us, it was a trailhead. We would find the trailhead. From that trailhead, then we could move our way up the mountain and up that trail. Okay, what's your starting point? Okay, what's that first step that you and your team need to take in order to get started and to get momentum? Hey, if you need help with that, if you need help with facilitating that meeting or facilitating a planning session for your team or for your larger organization, for your senior leaders, hey, we'd love to help out with that. We love facilitating. I love just having leaders talk, put some stuff on the board. We start collecting all the right information and just really sifting through that to find what's most important to you and to your organization. We love facilitating those conversations, helping you come up with a plan to simplify what seems to be complicated in your mind. That's what we love to do. Hey, some last thoughts before we finish here. The incredible journey that Mike and I took, it started with an idea. It started with a dream. We wanted to experience the thrill of summiting some sort of high peak. What's your dream? What is it you feel called to accomplish? What is it that you've been thinking about that is that next big thing that you want to do? Get very clear in your own mind about what that picture is of that new height, that new place that you'd like to climb to. Okay, write your dreams and your goals out. There's great value in just committing to it, putting it on paper, typing it up into Evernote, whatever it may be for you. Just write it down, commit to it. And then from there, start to make the plans, take the time to understand what your first step will be, and then take it. Okay, just take the first step. And I believe that you're just one step away from starting the journey of a lifetime. Let's make the climb together. Hey, if you're making plans right now to develop your staff in 2024, congratulations. You're doing the budgeting, you're planning it out for next year. We'd love to hear about it. There's a little quick survey. You can click the link down below. We would love to hear more about what your budgeting process looks like and your planning process for development. Or perhaps you don't have a plan for development for 2024 for your staff. Now's the time to do it. Okay. Put pen to paper, look at your organization, do a gap analysis, try to figure out what skills they need this next year. And then as you're doing that sort of analysis and trying to figure out what it is that each of them needs, then you can start to put together a budget for that. You can put together timelines, you can put together budgets. And hey, if it gets really overwhelming, just reach out to us. We'll help you put together that plan. We can even give you an idea of pricing, not just our pricing, but pricing in the marketplace for different types of training and what that might cost you. We'd love to help any way we can. Just reach out to us, book a call, or send us an email. To get an idea of some of the soft skills training we do, just go to d4concepts.com. From there, from the menu, you can look at people development, you can look at leadership development, you look at some of the things that we do to help people just like you develop their staff, develop themselves, and to prepare to lead better. We want you and all the people that we come into contact with to be people of greater influence. Thanks for listening and watching today, and we can't wait to see you next time in the next edition of The Greater Influence.